Hi, everyone. I'm Keslie,
I'm Deva.
and we are the Modern Day Exorcists. So, what does that even mean? An exorcist is somebody who removes spirits or dark energy or energy from a person, place, or thing, essentially. And by thing, it can be an object or it can be like a business entity, right? A business can move locations. So, a business is not the same thing as the location, right? It can be two separate things needing clearing. So we have decided to start off with a clearing on us and our business to really help clear this up as we are stepping into this new venture on YouTube.
hmm
There
What
anything
I
you
think
need to
is
know?
funny is it's taken us so long because we've been doing this for a good few years. We focus so much on helping everybody else. We didn't really think maybe we should do this on ourselves first.
Yep. Yep. Always start with ourselves, right? That's what we always teach people, right? To start with yourself. It's easier said than done.
Exactly. When you're so focused on what's happening around you, you don't always look inwards, right? We know that.
Yeah.
So
Especially for healers and guides like us, like we are, like you said, we're here for the collective. We're not here just for us. We often then think there first.
yes. So we thought the best thing to do is let's clear whatever shit we have gathered together over the years.
Yes.
And
And that brings us back actually to what is the modern day part, right? We said, what is the exorcist, but what is modern day? So we say modern day, even though there's other modern exorcists today, but those are all very religious based. They are typically priests and they're using holy water and tools and crucifix and this fear and saying things in Latin and all of this. Ah, so we do it very differently. Tell them
yes,
about it.
we come at it from a place of love and light. And I know it sounds trite and it sounds, what's the word I'm looking for? Too good to be true. But we've done a lot of this work in some cases behind the scenes where we've been asked to do a school or to do places with children. And of course, you never want to alarm the children. So we do a lot of the clearings without most people knowing. And it's not fear based. We've certainly run into some crazy stuff and we've had to clear some not so fun stuff from these areas, but we come at it from a place of using our spirit teams, using our abilities to release these energies, to banish. And really, we're all about healing. So it's not even just about banishing these energies, it's about sending them home, it's about releasing them completely. Whereas you and I have discovered what happens a lot in older type of exorcisms is it often goes from one person into another.
Stay
And
tuned. We'll talk about that story because that was my experience. I had my sister shot in my possession.
yes,
Put it
yeah,
right into me. That's how I know.
yes, yeah. We come at it from a place of love and light. That's the easiest way to explain it. We use our angel teams creating a veil of protection and we get to the root of the problem. And it's often not what you think. It's surprised us many times.
Really surprises us a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's rather maybe we can sit here and talk about it all day long, but let's just show them.
Right.
So
Good.
we are going to show you and we're going to see, and there is definitely something attached. Holy cow.
To you or me or both.
The business.
Yeah.
This is about the business. So
And that makes sense because we have constantly, since we met years ago, and we've forged through many times trying to get a healing business off the ground to be able to help people, we are constantly met with roadblocks and the most absurd roadblocks, things very adamantly trying to prevent us from doing what we do.
So you just said something that was really key. You said trying to get it off the ground. It's sitting on top of it.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it feels like.
Totally feels like a Dementor from, or looks very much like a Dementor from Harry Potter. A lot of times, you guys, that TV, movies, cartoons are so fucking eerily close to what we're experiencing. It's okay,
Yeah.
we're seeing it too. Oh, they see, yep, okay. Where I'm watching things and I'm like, they know stuff. They're not a normal person. This is not made up shit. This is what's going on out there.
Yeah. And even in scientific research, we've come to realize, and we'll talk more about that in other episodes as well. There are things that are being scientifically proven with hypnosis and past life regressions and stuff that people are saying things through their near death experiences or whatever those past life regressions are. They're saying things we have been saying for years and years. And so it's great confirmation for us, validation for us.
Yeah.
But yes, art does often imitate life. And so, yeah, a Dementor is exactly what I'm seeing as well. Faceless.
Just dark energy, draggy, dark.
Yeah.
And so this is not a spirit like one that is going to, I don't even think this thing could get in to possess anybody. I feel like this is just on the outside. It's an energy. It's an energy vampire. It's all about keeping the energy of things.
Yeah.
It can only touch the energy. And I will tell you guys, we are learning as we go still, right? We keep getting different information. We should also probably tell them, or give them a little bit about our gifts. Let's start with yours. Go ahead and tell them all of the ways that you experience things. This is also showing, I do a lot of inner child work also. And our inner children are part of this. Were you a scary movie watcher as a kid?
Yes.
I was not. And this shit's why. Because it always felt, what if that's real? And it was not safe of, oh, this is scary, but it's safe. It was always like, no, this is not safe. This shit is not safe.
Yeah.
And so go ahead and tell about your gifts.
Before that, to touch on the scary movie thing, when I was a kid, it's not even that I wanted to. My mom and my brother were into it. So I watched by default and hated every minute of it. And you wouldn't want me in a movie theater with you watching a scary movie because I scare people while watching it because I will outwardly express my fear. And that also scares people. So it wasn't enjoyable for me, and I think there was a lot of that. There's enough scariness in the world. I don't need to partake in this as well, but now I can't. I just can't. It's just too much for me.
It's a lot, yeah. I actually watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3 first time on Halloween at my boyfriend's request because he loves scary movies. And I knew that if I said anytime I don't want to watch it, he would have stopped it. It was, and it's from 1986. So the special effects were ridiculous, which totally helped because, again, so much of that I was like, yep, huh? Like, there's a little bit to this that's some real shit. Like, you can be physically hurt by these things. They can either harm you by making you harm yourself, or they can harm you by making you sick and causing all sorts of issues that are making you very much physically affected by them. So then that stuff was coming in. So it's paying attention to us now. And just so you guys know, I'm a little more connected to the darker energies, and Diva's a little more connected to passed on loved ones.
Yeah.
We both do both, but we just are a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
I
And
think
that's why we partner so well.
such a great team. Yeah.
Yeah. We see different things, but it usually comes together.
Always.
Yeah. So, yeah, I talk to dead people. And I have been able to since I was a kid. Some of my earliest memories are communicating with my guardian angel and at 4 years old explaining to my mom a version of quantum physics and how she and I lived in different realities. So my mom, having her 4-year-old trying to explain different realities and how she and I exist in different realities, my mom was a little concerned. And so she brushed it off as, oh, you have an imaginary friend. And I think that was my mom's coping mechanism. She realizes now because I knew things and I was able to um I was able to see ghosts back then. Like I saw spirits. And so I would go on field trips and experience ghosts and not know how to explain what I was seeing or experiencing because not sure how that would be perceived by other people. And I lived in a very haunted small town as well. So I was having experiences all over the place. And then throughout my life, that sort of dissipated as I endured trauma, as I grew up and wasn't supported in what my gifts were. And it wasn't really until 2013 when my brother died. And his death was shocking on many levels, but he unalived himself. And so there was a whole process of healing that I had to go through. It knocked me back down to ground zero. And it was in that healing, which was very arduous and hard and very touch and go for many years. I was dealing with ideation and not wanting to be here anymore. And it was in that process of healing and going through that my brother communicated with me. And at first I thought was just a desire. I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, but it was very audible. He was yelling in my ear. And it happened so frequently, like on a daily basis, that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And the minute I started talking back to him is the minute that door fully swung open again for me. And I had to reacquaint myself with those gifts, reacquaint myself with boundaries that I needed to create and how to decipher the information that was coming through. And that's about the time you and I met as well. So it was in that process, and you helped in part of that healing that I was able to piece it together and make sense. And here we are years
Yeah.
later
Because it's so
doing
easy to feel like you're fucking losing your mind, man.
that.
Feel crazy.
Yeah.
First, you feel like you're making it up. You're like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm making it up. And then you're like, oh my God, why am I making up this elaborate shit? Yeah, no, I'm probably crazy. But then we start saying those crazy things to people and they're like, oh my God. And you're like, oh, but maybe I'm not crazy. Because I was pretty sure if I said something out loud, I was going to should go to the nut house. Like they were going to
Yeah.
send me to the mental institution because I'm seeing and hearing some pretty crazy shit. So
I
yeah,
think too, for me, in retrospect, I was a teacher for 20 years. And the number of times students would say to me, "Oh my God, Miss Neely, are you psychic?" And I would be like, "No, maybe." I don't know why I knew the things I did or how I would say things and it would trigger them or trigger something in them. And yeah, it's because I was.
yeah, exactly. And people who aren't even aware of it they'll think you have some other knowing or like it can be really scary for kids. So it's interesting. I did not the first time I had really an intuitive hit, I was 21, but I excused it. I was like, oh, that was a one-off thing. My boyfriend at the time was across in another country and he cheated on me and I felt it. I knew it. I was like, I know he did. And then my therapist at the time was like, what would you do if he did? And I was like, honestly, I think as long as he tells me, I'm okay with it. It's just my preference, right? And he didn't, and it was a lie. And for a year, anyway, long story short, I didn't trust my intuition. But I was right. I did trust it in that moment because I knew that he had done it. And then I got validation later that I was indeed correct. But I had taken that as, oh, a me and him thing, right? It wasn't a my gift thing. Because growing up, I wanted to have gifts and I didn't have them. And my mom and my sister both did. My sister would know things. She would dream things that I was planning to do, like that I wasn't supposed to, things that were against the rules, so to speak. And she'd bust me every time. I was like, what the fuck? How do you know what I'm thinking? I haven't even done anything. I just thought about it and you're reading my mind? Like, no. So I really was interested in getting gifts. And so I didn't allow myself to acknowledge them until about 2017, and I had somebody open my gifts. I was working with this other healer, and she did whatever, however, her technique of opening my gifts. Do I believe you need your gifts opened? Absolutely not. Do I believe if you get your gifts open, you can receive gifts from that? Absolutely, because that's what happened to me, but it's just because that's what I believe. I believed I needed help to have them opened. You do not need help. So anyway, once that happened, I think that gave me permission to allow those things that were very subtle because it's all super, super subtle. It's not things that are so obvious a lot of the time. And it's this subtle level. I don't see things with my eyes. I'm never going to see a ghost standing there. But I also know what this picture looks like, even if I can't see it. I know what my refrigerator looks like. I know what my kids look like. I don't have to see them to know. So that's how I see is with this mind's eye.
Yeah.
It turns out I do more than just see like that because that's a knowing, right? So that's more claircognizant. I just know things. I know what things are, but I also feel people's bodies, including my mom fell and hit her head and cracked her head open last night. And I thought, there's no way it's got to be down here. And it was right where I formed a lump on my head and a sore spot. I was like, I didn't hit my head. What is that? And then I saw a picture. I was like, oh shit. I'll tell you, I am amazing with boundaries with everybody else in the world except my children and my mom. Like my sis, like my family, my closest people, I still have a very difficult time keeping strong, energetic boundaries with them. They get hurt. Obviously, I just pick that shit right up. But I don't do it with the regular person anymore, which is a really nice break because that was super painful and toxic.
Yeah.
And it
I
robbed
get
her.
kind of in readings with people where I'll have physical responses. And I know if it's out of the blue, like if it's something in my body is doing something, I know that's a sign that's something I'm meant to tell them.
Yeah.
Uh, But it becomes hard to decipher because what is yours and what's not yours.
And that's the reason why if I'm going to ever do a reading for somebody, it's don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Just let me see what comes because if I know something, I don't know if I know it or if I'm a hit. And I'll excuse it as, oh, I know that. So that can't be a part. And often it still is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to check in because we are doing this clearing and we did not forget. I'm totally tapped into this thing that's sitting there looking. There's an energy about it. Like it doesn't feel like feels like it's trying to keep us safe. It feels like it's no, that's dangerous. Don't do that.
Yeah. I think that's our ancestral line. And I've always thought I come from a long line of witches.
Yeah.
And that's been confirmed multiple times, especially talking to my family and things that they'll say, like some of my cousins and my great aunts. They'll talk about these salt rituals of protection that they would do, or the malocchio, which is an Italian thing. And I was like, we come from a long line of witches without having that name, without calling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would make sense to me, actually, because I think for both you and I, and we've had this discussion many times, that there are ancestors in our history that have died because of their beliefs and have died because of the healing and the things that they do.
It's not a Dementor anymore. It's like they were trying to, that was like, it's too scary. Don't do this.
Yes.
But they're turning into a collective ancestral.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, oh, what? Go ahead.
It's a long line of protection. And when I motion to my left, that's in the past, and anything this way is in the future. And I do it very subconsciously. I don't think about it. So when we were talking about that, I was like, it's an ancestral line. And if you noticed, I started to look this way because there's a long line of people trying to protect us because they died for doing the same.
And it's funny because I'm experiencing them all as one, like all
Yeah.
combined into one on both sides. That's so interesting. Our families have combined.
Yeah.
So we need to show them the different ways that it is safe now to do this. All you have to do is look up paranormal shit on YouTube. It's all over the place. It's totally safe to do this now. No, we're not going to be burned at the stake. We're not going to be punished. We're going to be rewarded and we're going to help people. Like this is something that we are out there to help people and know we can't get in trouble for it. Although we were asked both in sharing the name and the logo we were going to use, we were asked by different people, is it legal to do that? And don't you need a license to do that? Do we need a license to release spirits? Pretty sure there's no governing board for that because it's not really acknowledged as real. So not hard to find anything for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Tell me where we go for that.
exactly. Who do we call?
Joe's practice.
Office? Exactly. Which office do we call?
Yes. The Ministry for Muggles?
Because the church really does, like the Catholic Church does license people, and they say you have to be a priest and you have to do this. But again, what we have seen and I have experienced is when fear is used to release a spirit or soul, it goes somewhere else. It does not cross over. So that's the other thing we're going to have to do with these beings is they need to get the fuck over. That energy left behind needs to go. It is not helping.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
needs to go back into non-physical and go be back in love. That's a big difference of how we can tell if we're communicating with a being that is on the other side, that's crossed over, that we're still connecting with, versus a ghost energy that's stuck here. Because our consciousness and our energy that's our body are two different things. We're going to talk lots more about that. But so
Yeah.
the consciousness can cross over and the energy can stay stuck because it's stuck to things that's here. Often trying to finish whatever they were doing when they died or their goals were for life, that kind of energy.
Yeah. It's that residual energy that people have heard that term, I'm sure, because all the paranormal shows talk about the residual energy in haunted homes and
Mhm.
areas. And people need to understand that all things are energy and energy can stick around.
Yeah.
Going, right. When we go to someplace like Ground Zero for the longest time, there was an energy there. It was palpable. You could feel it. When I went to the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam, there was such a heaviness and an energy that still existed in that place. So we need to understand that energy is very real and very palpable.
And if we get them that the energy to cross over too, it just clears it. It just because it's not doing anybody any good
No,
here.
no. And would you agree that I think the world is in a place right now where so much of that dark energy, that heaviness has been left here. And as a result, it's negatively affecting us as humans. We're absorbing things that aren't ours.
Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh. That's a whole empathic talk we need to have.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, no, that's exactly what I was talking about is that there's so much that's coming out in humans, right? And we know there's so much divide and we're sitting here days before your election and the world is watching to see what happens. And there's an energy about it. But prior to that, there's been this build of negativity. And we're seeing things we never thought we would see in our lifetime, the wars and the fighting and the divisiveness and right, all this stuff. And I truly believe it's coming from a place that there has been darkness left behind, that there has been stuff that should have been cleared that has not. And it's almost like this veil of heaviness on us. And people feel like they can't breathe anymore.
Yeah. That's a whole country healing we need to do.
Yeah.
So that's another entity, right? As we're saying, person, place, or thing, thinking of a legal entity, a government. That's a thing that
Yeah.
is non physical, right? So it's a non physical thing, but it's still a thing.
Yeah.
Groups, charities, things like that can be affected also. So they're fully done with that dark energy. There is some goo stuck on the ground underneath us, though. Again, it's like quicksand.
It's almost like there's a washing away that needs to happen. And what's funny is, and we'll talk a lot about religion in our videos, but not the way people think. But what's funny is the hit that I'm getting when you said that they're like a goo, there's something, the washing of the feet.
Mhm. Keep going.
So there's a lesson in this. There's it has to do with humility. It has to do with allowing other people to help us as well as us helping others and being open. The visual that I'm getting is the washing of the feet.
Okay, so let's call our spirit team in, because when we get to a place that we are maxed, right?
Yeah.
Call them in.
And it's so funny. I don't usually use religious rhetoric, but that's how it came true to me.
And yeah, hey, man. I think when religion started, Jesus was trying to tell people a whole different thing. Not supposed to be
Got a whole series of
pure
and hear about that.
no, garbage is all about love and light. Just love and light. And so those practices are often rooted in those things, right?
Yeah.
So to think of a religious practice isn't crazy. They do the things for a reason.
Yeah. And
And
there's
so
a
that's
cleanliness about the water too. And we know that, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and I was holding up the crystal inadvertently, not even thinking, just because I'm playing with it. But how do you clear those crystals? Water. Water cleanses crystals, right? So water also can cleanse us.
Yep.
So it's a washing away of what is holding us in place, that stickiness.
So let's call the team in and have them facilitate a washing of our feet, right? That's asking others to help us instead of us doing it. We could do it ourselves, but
I'm getting that part of this we have to do outside of this video, and it's a bath. We need to, a cleansing bath. We need to put crystals in the bath. We need the Epsom salts. We need to do this ritualistic cleanse of ourselves
mhm.
as a way to heal. And obviously, we can't do that on a video.
Stuff like that often comes up, right? We'll get the hit, oh, go. I often get soak in salt water or drink salt water is a super common request because it just helps. I guess it's helping purify the body.
Yeah. And if we think about it too, salt, salinite, it absorbs negative energy.
Yeah.
So when we drink it in something like an electrolyte drink, it is doing what we would do with a salt lamp on the outside. It's absorbing the negative energy. When we drink it, it's internally absorbing those negative energies and we're flushing them out.
That makes sense. I never even thought about why. I just did it because I just relayed the message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll reinforce it with the physical washing. And we
Yeah.
get this a lot for our clients too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All the time we get people who get these hits to complete because it took you longer than a day to get here. So it's going to an hour to get here. So if we're clearing in an hour, there's stuff that might come up moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. And this also brings up the question because I get a lot of people say, if I wanted to get crystals, what's a good one to get to start off? My answer is always selenite. Selenite's a good starting point. I carry a piece in my purse wherever I go. Or people, they put them on the tops of their doorways because anything that enters into your home, that piece will absorb any negative energy.
And
Uh,
the one crystal that doesn't need to be cleansed. self-cleaning. You
Of
can
course.
put it in the moonlight to charge it up, but it's totally not necessary.
And you actually use it to charge your other
Um,
crystals.
it's good for EMS too. I put it on my computer, right? And
Smart.
I
I
can
didn't think
feel
I
the
did that.
energy bounce around. Like it just totally changes it. Like it circulates it away from me rather than coming at me.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's very smart.
Yeah. So they've definitely settled into the elders. Um, the team has come in and they're washing our feet. Honestly, wow, this feels a little easier than I expected. I
I
expected
know, me too.
like, really, that's it? And because there's nothing else. And I'm just continuing to show them all of the videos on and all of the people that are doing this live and using negativity to do it and getting a response and being able to make a living off of doing this out of fear. It's not at work.
Yeah. And people need to understand that oftentimes when you do a cleanse like this, it can lift off and open things up within the universe. So, how we communicate with the universe, the abundance that we are entitled to in the universe, it can block that, which
Yeah.
you and I know because we've talked many times. We've come so close, and we always felt like something was blocking us from that next step. And it can be a big thing that is in the way of people attracting that abundance, attracting money, attracting those things to them.
So you just said blocks. I'm literally experiencing a big fucking block. It's a big cube. That is the business. And
Like
a big
Lego?
what?
Lego?
Sorta, but it's just one. It's just a one,
Yeah.
like a box, just like box
Yeah.
that is like a container, right? It's like the container, the business container. And we had sticky shit on the bottom and people weighing it down on top,
Yeah.
all to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And it's literally harming us for it to do that, which everybody is typically the sentiment on most of these is, hey, you're wrong. You're trying to help and you're hurting in the process, right? So they're trying to protect us, keep us safe, keep us alive. And in the process, they're hurting us. They're
Yeah.
hurting our ability to flourish. They're hurting our ability to help people because they're keeping us small. And by
Yeah.
keeping us small, that means this message can get out to the world. They think they're protecting us, and we're trying to let you know it's not. They need us. This is not a show up and show your gifts and be killed. This is a show up and show your gifts and be followed. Have the right people need you and come to you and say, I've been waiting for you." There are people watching this that are like, oh my God, I've been waiting for you. We're here now and we're not going away again.
Yeah. Just in the few days where we've decided to step into this, because even though we've been doing it for a long time, it's never really been our sole focus. But the
Right.
minute we're like, you know what? This is what we do. Like, we never named it before. We never, and so when we made the decision to focus on it, just in the past couple days, look at what has come to us as a result.
Yeah.
And without any effort on our part, it's just found us, or somebody has reached out and said something. We're like, holy shit.
We've taken divine right action. We've taken divine inspired action, right? We're posting, we're doing the things, and we're getting the response where we haven't always. Because I've typically focused on trauma, and you've typically focused on resiliency in kids or grief going around because we can all do so many things as healers. And I'm sure those of you watching, like, we have a lot of things we can be doing. And so, how do you focus? And we've been like, I I know for you, especially with grief, you're dealing with this kind of stuff all the time. But for me, dealing with trauma, most of my clients are dealing with some sort of energy situation in addition to their trauma healing because trauma calls the dark. So if we're dealing with dark, we're dealing with trauma. And if you're dealing with trauma, you've probably got dark shit attached, whether or not you want to believe it.
Yeah.
And if you have dark shit, it makes healing the trauma so much fucking harder because it's all this interplay of bullshit calling one to the other. And when you start to break it apart and heal the trauma and release the dark, it doesn't help. It finally brings hope because if you just release from somebody who's not willing, pretend you have somebody that you love and they are a homeless addict, right? they're going to be covered with a ton of shit. There's going to be a lot of demons around them, a lot of shit trying to get to them, keeping them in the state that they're in. We can clear those people. We can look at that addict on the street. We can clear them all fucking day long, but they're not healing their trauma. They're going to keep the negative energy, those negative beliefs, that self hatred,
Yeah.
that's calling the darkness to them.
I think it leads to an interesting point about addiction, which is also, we've worked with somebody who was battling that. My brother was an addict. My father was an addict. My grandmother was an alcoholic. And I say that synonymously just so people understand, an addict, an alcoholic,
Same thing.
same thing. It's in learning your family history and learning of our ability on a cellular level to pass that trauma on to each other.
Yes.
And then you take trauma that has happened in your life as well. Those are all, and it's how I view demons, right? I said in my brother's eulogy, we cannot talk about him without talking about the demons that followed him. And it's almost a literal thing. There is a darkness attached, like you said, trauma and darkness, they go hand in hand, whether or not you want to believe it or not. And I truly do believe it because I saw it in my brother. I saw it in my father. I saw it in my grandmother, who were all battling those things. And I see it in the rest of my family that is very toxic. And I'm estranged from most of them. But I wish them love and light because I know healing needs to happen for them.
Yeah.
And there's a darkness that hangs over them. And I picture when we think of like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, and we think of that dark cloud, right? When people are in that state, that's exactly, it feels like you are surrounded by a dark cloud and you just can't get out of the rain.
So, can we heal people without their knowledge? Yeah. But if you're dealing with an addict who's gone through a lot of pain, it's only going to be temporary. We can't get them clear without them doing, they have to be actively involved in their healing and in their awareness of the demons and intent to communicate and break free of them. As I said, and I will talk more about, in a rehab facility, I watched a woman, I was taking a client to rehab. And in there, I watched a woman batting things away, shaking things off her foot. And my friend was like, "Oh, see that they're going to get me." And I was like, "I want you to really pay attention right now. Do they want you or do they want her?" They wanted nothing to do with anybody else in that building except their, and they were coming at her with this mommy like energy, like, "I need you. We need you." And she's trying to get rid of them. And I was like, "Oh my God, she's calling them at the same time she's trying to get rid of them." That's the trauma.
Yeah.
So when we've done schools and kids, it's a whole different story. They aren't as tainted as the adult addicts are. So we can go into a school, clear a child without their or their parents' knowledge, which we've done, and be able to bring peace to this family and this school without anybody knowing, because there were no active abuses, traumas, drug abuse. There was nothing happening at the school that was calling more to it. So when we clear it, it can be cleared.
Yeah.
But if you've got somebody who's a lot of dark shit, you've got to have them on board. And what I've seen from working with that is if we aren't acknowledging these dark energies, they're screwed, because those dark energies are pulling on you and they will win.
I just got a hit, Keslie. We're being called to residential schools.
That's
Much needs to be released.
let there.
And I
Mhm.
just got this emotional upheaval.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm trying not to cry right now because when you were talking about the schools and us being able to release that,
Yep.
I was
And
getting to what about
we're
us?
going through it. We'll do it. You've got it, kids.
Yeah.
We'll look up every fucking school there was. We'll get as much information. We'll pull it up online. We'll look at the school. We'll find where we can get historical stuff,
Yeah.
images, see what's still a building, if there's no building, and we'll go to every site and clear it.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to. They're asking us to.
Yeah. And why are we talking about all of this? I just got the very clear hit that our ancestors need to hear how we're going to help. They
Yeah.
need to understand what we're doing. Why are we doing this? What kinds of things are we going to do? I need to prove that they're still thinking that there's some danger in it because the church will come after us, and they might.
It might.
So bring it the fuck on, because the church doesn't have any sort of control anymore. So we're not worried about that, but we do want to help. And this is how we can help in a massive way, in ways people aren't talking about. Which brings me to schizophrenia. Most of the time, schizophrenics are just talking about their shit they're seeing, and it's not accepting. I had a client who was a bouncer at a dispensary, a marijuana dispensary. And he would often get homeless people that would get a little bit of money together and they'd come in to purchase. It's recreational here in California. And he had a guy who, we were working on his trauma and his parts. He had his own guides with him, and he could see demons. And so he would bounce the demons at the door to the dispensary, which meant you're not allowed to follow your person in. So you're going to sit your fucking ass outside and you're going to wait. And the transformation that people would have showing their ID, walking through the door of the threshold, would stand differently, would speak more clearly, and one time he said a guy came up and he looked at him and he goes, "They're not welcome here." He goes, "You can see them?" He's, "Yep, and they're not coming in." The guy fucking loved to come there because he would get a few moments of freedom. Peace. He was getting peace while he was in there. And then he'd come out and he'd grab his fucking demons and head on back to where he was going. And a lot of that happens. So this is where the other part where drugs and alcohol can affect you is they leave you open to dark shit,
Yeah, definitely.
which then calls it in again. But the trauma, because nobody's out there drug, alcohol, and drinking if they don't have some sort of trauma. Now, I want to just bring up the fact of what is trauma. Literally not being advocated for by your parents. I had a client say to me once that he was visiting his parents and he was woken up abruptly, and he said he was like, I'm just really frazzled by it, but you'd think after 40 years they'd know how I need to wake up. And I went, I'm sorry, after 40 years, your parents don't know that waking you up abruptly is going to literally jar you for the day. And they can't honor that. They're not aware. That is enough trauma to want to be being ignored, not being able to be who you are, being dismissed, being excused, being emotionally
Not feeling
neglected.
heard, not feeling seen.
All of that is trauma and will lead you into a place that you can end up hating yourself, because if your needs are not met, you don't learn to meet your own needs. And then you end up trying to get your needs met through unhealthy people, and bam, now you're calling more darkness, and now you're in so much pain. You want to escape the pain on any fucking way possible, which drugs and alcohol do so very effectively.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And then you're open to more darkness, and it's just a vicious fucking cycle. But I've seen people fight it and come out the other side where magic happens. They're climbing down off the top of the box.
They're understanding.
I'm okay with them sticking around for protection, but in a new way. Yes. Also, they can guide us like they just did to the schools, I believe. Like they're saying, okay, what I just heard is only if you're doing good.
Yes, that's always our intention.
Right. So now I'm getting super emotional. There's a surrender. They're dropping their arms.
There's
Dropping
an
the guard.
understanding now.
What?
There's an understanding now.
They need to grieve their own deaths. Often.
Yes. I think they feel seen and heard now.
Yeah. Which is why they didn't feel seen and heard. That's why they were killed, is because they weren't seen and heard, and they're trying to protect us.
Yeah.
It's a really big ring of people.
Oh, yeah. It's a long line. Ooh.
So, just bringing up that, is it legal to do an exorcism? There are actually laws about exorcisms because in Texas, there was a young girl who was possessed. I'll go ahead and say it, I can feel her. She apparently was exorcised. You ready for this? 67 times by a priest. Ultimately, they killed her. She died. And they were sentenced to prison, the priests and the parents, for involuntary. Well, they were sentenced to 6 months in jail, but they got involuntary manslaughter. And so they got like 3 years probation or some bullshit like that. But there is a law that if you harm somebody during an exorcism, that you, and I just am going, what did this poor girl have to endure for 67 times? And as soon as I tapped into her to try to see what she was going through, every fucking time they did that, they were bringing so much more darkness to her because they were using fear.
Yeah.
When you're trying to push a soul, as we just witnessed, our ancestors trying to keep us safe, we're using this fear and thing to keep us down. Why? Because that's what they know works, right?
Yeah.
Typically, fear works. So they're trying to keep us down, but it's harming everything in the process. So it just becomes the cycle.
They were creating more trauma in her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I feel lighter.
Yeah. I do as well. And I'm holding back emotion. I'm feeling quite emotional as well.
It went away for me. The emotion just came in and that I pushed it back out. I'm feeling really grounded. There's no sticky shit on the ground.
I feel like I can breathe. There's a lot of people like that girl who need us. We got to fix what the priests have done. Fuck. Oh, and I'm getting there's so much of it.
And so we'll just go ahead and throw out there, if you have tried to be exercised or you have tried to have somebody that you love exercised and it didn't work, message us, get in touch with us.
Yeah. Also, hit us up in the comments if you have seen or witnessed or experienced somebody
Anything paranormal.
having some sort of attachment or what would be called a possession. Because I think we've all seen it. We all deny it. But I think we've all seen something and kind of gone, oh,
Mhm.
that doesn't seem right. Or that's not like that person usually.
Yep.
So hit us up in the comments and let us know because we're interested to hear your stories and what you've experienced. We've experienced stuff our whole lives.
Yep.
And that's why we're here. And we know so many of you have had experiences as well. And
Yeah.
we will hear about it.
Yeah.
Drop-
We're looking for stories. Not only do we want to hear them, but we want to interview you.
Yeah, we want to
Bring you on. Either if you have a story of where it's over or just something that you experienced as paranormal as a kid or whatever, like we want stories. We want to be talking about this. We can give our take on it and you can clear ghosts from places for that's just so powerful. So yeah, tell us if you're interested. And what we're always going to be doing is follow-ups on these. So in about a month, 30 to 60 days from now, we are going to do a follow-up to show you all the changes that have happened. And with every exorcism that we do on air, we're going to be following up with those people as well to make sure that we are having an impact, right? And we're going to come back and tell you about a couple other exorcisms that we've done, one on a health food store and restaurant that is booming now. Oh, I bet we could get them to come on and give us an update.
That's a good idea. I'll reach out to Nancy.
Yeah, and I think maybe we have our own recording. Maybe we can dig that recording up and air that too.
Yeah, we should be. There was so much cool stuff in
So
that location. And being a building that had been around for 150 years, there was layer upon layer of interesting
yeah.
shit.
So we'll always do follow-up so we can see the benefits, the changes, the transformations that these people, places, and things have had by doing this. What does it happen? I want to bring up one other thing. If you clear once, does that mean you never have to do it again? No. It does not. Because we are humans, we are having feelings, we're having experiences, we're going through life, shit's happening, and sometimes we just need them. We need to have an experience with them for no real aware reason, but something you figure out later down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should mention too, we'll do a follow up to this one because
Yeah, we'll see the magic, show the transformation that's happening.
yes.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's it for today.
Thank you for joining us. Please share this with people you think might be interested or have a story to tell. We want to get the word out there. Like Keslie said, we want to have you on the show and we want to talk about these things openly. I think they've been hidden for far too long. It's time to get them out.
Yeah, or talked about in the context of fear. So getting the truth out is a big deal for us.
Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
Bye.
Love and light.
Uh,
Thank you for tuning in. I would be forever grateful if you hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when more videos drop.